everybody. Today we are going to make some green beans with sausage and tomatoes in our Instant Pot. It's more of an Italian style way to eat green beans with the sausage, and it's really delicious, and I've been working on this recipe for a while and I'm really excited to share it with you. So let's go ahead and get started. You can find the list of all the ingredients in the post for this video. I always try to include that for you. The first thing that I do is I put my Instant Pot on saute mode and normal, which you can do by just hitting the adjust button as soon as you hit the saute button. And I wait for it to say hot. And once it's hot, I can add some olive oil. So add about a tablespoon, maybe a little bit more. And then I just kind of swirl it around the pot a little bit. And then, because the pots are kind of domed in the middle, I always make sure that the whole thing gets coated. And then I wait just a minute or so. And then I have a large chopped up yellow onion. You could also use a sweet onion if you want. You want to throw it in there and hear that lovely sizzle. And I'm just going to cook the onion until they're just starting to turn translucent. Make sure you stir them so that they can all get coated in that lovely olive oil. And after they've been cooking for a few minutes, we can add the rest of our ingredients. So I'll just give that a couple of minutes. The onions have been cooking for a few minutes. They're not totally translucent, but they're just starting to get that way on the edges. And at this point, I'm going to add my sausage. I have here 1 pound of country style sausage. You could use Italian style or hot. Usually when I make this, I will use whatever I have handy, and this is what I happen to have today. And because it isn't spicy, I am going to add a little bit of spice later. So just go ahead and break it up and start getting that all brown and incorporate it in there with the onions. So the sausage is almost all the way cooked through. So at this point, I like to add some spice. And so what I have here is I have 1 teaspoon of dried basil. I feel that the dried basil holds up really well, and it also adds a nice flavor. I also have a couple of pinches of red pepper flakes in there. Since I didn't have any hot sausage, I just wanted to add a little bit of a kick to it. The other thing is I'm going to add a couple pinches of salt, even though, yes, we're using sausage, but with all the other stuff we're going to put in there, you could definitely use just a couple pinches. I use kosher salt. I also really enjoy adding coarse ground pepper, so I'm also going to add a couple pinches of that. Smells really good. And then I'll go ahead and just give that a stir and get those spices in there. I like to add spice when the pot still has a lot of oil in it and not so much water. I think that it really opens up the spices, makes them bloom, releases the flavor, all that good stuff. So it doesn't take very long, just, a minute or so. And I can smell the change. It's just, it starts to release that yummy basil smell. And I'm also going to now add just a clove of crushed garlic. And I really love garlic, and I often in my recipes will add a lot of garlic, but this is one of those recipes where I just do 1 clove, and that's the right amount. And it is perfect. So there's a lot of green beans in this, and there's also a really wonderful flavor because I use a red and an orange pepper, and that also really shines through in this dish. It's really great. Okay, so at this point what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my crushed tomatoes, and this is a pretty big can. It's about 28 ounces, so that's going to go right on in. And this is a really, really good brand. I've really enjoyed using it. I don't know what it's called. I've never actually read it. SMT, something like that. Anyway, so get that in there. Oops, I got a little casualty there. No big deal. And because I want to make sure that this isn't too thick so that the pot will come to pressure, I like to add a little bit of liquid. So you'll want to add 1/4 to 1/2 can of water or broth. I just happen to have some of my bone broth here, so I'm going to add a little bit in there. A particularly dark batch of bone broth. It almost looks like coffee. This is a rather saucy, I guess you could say, soupy recipe, but it's okay. It really works. Okay, so I'm going to just go clean off the edge of my pan, and I'll be right back. Okay, and the next thing that we're going to add is the red and orange pepper. I just cut them into strips, but not really, really long strips. I want them to somewhat match the size of the green beans. And then I just like to stir and incorporate those. And like I said, the flavor of these peppers really shine through. First couple of times that I made it, they got a little too mushy. I cooked it too long, so I really had to work on adjusting the timing for this. We ate a lot of it, but even with it being mushy, I still enjoyed it. So did my husband. Okay, and now what I have here is I have 1.5 pounds of fresh green beans. Cut the ends off, and then they were rather long, so I also cut them in half, and they're just going to go right on in. And then you're going to want to stir and incorporate them. It takes a minute because there's a lot of stuff in the pot, so just go ahead and do that. I have everything all stirred up, and you can see it's boiling a little bit because it's still on saute mode. But at this point, I'm going to cancel the saute mode, and then I'm going to go ahead and put my lid on and set it to sealing. And then we'll get this ready to cook. Okay, so for me, the magic number is 4 minutes for this dish. I have had it at 5 minutes, and I thought that the beans were just a little bit too tender and the peppers were just a little too soft. And I've done it at 3 minutes, and I thought that the peppers were great, but the beans were a little too crunchy. So 4 minutes is my sweet spot. So you can kind of go by how crunchy you like your green beans or how tender you like them. I'm going to go with 4 minutes, so I'm going to set to manual and 4 minutes on high pressure, and then I'm going to do a quick release after that. Okay, it's all done cooking, so we're going to do a quick release. Okay, now we can open it up and see what we got. Smells really good. I'm going to go ahead and dish a little bit up here. See, we put a lot of liquid in, but it's not like a soup. It's not overly saucy. Isn't it beautiful? Woo! Steamy too. I'd probably wait a couple of minutes before digging into this, but I'm going to put just a little bit more in the bowl. Okay, so there you have it. I mean, that's a complete meal right there with your vegetable and your meat. And I really encourage you to try this. It's super tasty, and your beans are done perfectly, and the peppers are not mush. They're nice and soft though. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day, and I will see you guys next time.